What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to be covering Facebook group secrets and how you can build a thriving online community using Facebook. So let's jump right in. Now, you might think Facebook is dead. You might have heard everybody's moving to TikTok and the only people using Facebook are in their 90s. Well, it's just not true. In fact, over 1.8 billion people use Facebook groups every month. It's not including all the other features of Facebook. We're just talking about groups. That's a lot of people. And more people trust group content than they trust ads or business pages. And we're going to get into the psychology behind that in just a bit. But basically, groups are the most algorithmically favored content on Facebook right now. Unlike pages or profiles, groups have a stronger sense of community and repeat engagement. It makes sense, right? You're building a community, in many cases a private community on Facebook when you're building a group. So, who wants to get better at building and participating in Facebook groups? Hopefully you're raising your hand right now because this is the video you need to be watching if you want to do just that. But before we get into all the tactics and the techniques and the fancy stuff, let's get something out of the way that comes up a lot. And that's the question that I get asked all the time, which is, what's the difference between a profile, a page, and groups? There are three different things on Facebook, and let's break them down real quick. So a profile, this is what we all start with. You should only have one profile technically. It should be tied to a true identity. And this is the individual networking for real people to connect with real people one-on-one. That's a profile. Pretty simple, right? Then you have pages. This is like a broadcasting platform for brands to reach customers and run ads. A lot of times businesses have pages, but you could also have it for an organization or any type of brand for that matter. And you can have multiple people who are tied to that page as admins or as moderators. And then you have groups. These are community spaces where people discuss shared interests and topics. And again, they can be shared, they can be tied to a specific page, and then you can have people or profiles who are the admins and the moderators of those groups. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump into the tactics and the techniques. But obviously, you probably want to know, well, what results have I achieved? Why am I qualified to teach any of this stuff? So let me share some quick results. So I run several groups, but the group I'm most well known for is called the Port St. Lucie Business Club. We started it a couple of years ago. We have over 6,000 members, and you can see just in the last 60 days, we've had steady increase in new members, and that's what you want to see. That's one of the metrics you want to look at, is the steady growth of that group in terms of total membership. Now, we could get into a whole bunch of different things when it comes to Facebook groups. We could talk about the algorithm, and here you can see these are about 10 different factors or algorithmic signals that go into the type of content that performs well and what determines if something's going to perform well on Facebook. We could talk about all that technical stuff with the mumbo jumbo of algorithms, but that's boring. So I don't want to bore you, so we're going to skip that part. We could always talk about it later. You can let me know if you want me to get into that in a future video. Just leave a comment below and I could certainly make a video about all of this stuff. But for now, let's just skip it. Instead, what I'm going to do is just give you a few bad examples of content that doesn't usually perform well in groups, and then a couple good examples. So this is a bad example. This is someone who's just promoting a pool maintenance company. Now, I blurred out some stuff to not call anyone out specifically, but this type of post, you probably see it all the time if you're in any type of business or community group on Facebook. It doesn't perform very well because it's just an ad. It doesn't really get engagement. It's just mediocre content. It's not really what Facebook groups are meant for. Here's another post. Now, this one at first you might think, oh, this is good. It's a video. It has a nice image. But it's not going to do that well because this is a YouTube video, and Facebook wants to keep people on platform. They don't want you going off platform to YouTube, their competitor. So if you want to have video content perform well, you should upload it natively to Facebook. Don't just link out to a YouTube video. Or at the very least, at least add some context to the post itself so that there's not just a video getting posted with no other information, because that's usually not going to perform very well. Now let's look at a couple good examples. So here's a post from from our Friday posts from our Port St. Lucie Business Club. We try to have different engaging topics and questions all the time. And so on this one for Friday, we said, show us a photo of something you love. And you can see it did pretty well. We had 46 comments. We had an 85 post reach, lots of engagement, quality over quantity, and it did quite well. Here's another example of a post that did pretty well. I like to ask very simple questions. Here's one that was basically, what is the perfect door prize to give away at a networking event? You could see it reached 1.3 or 1,300 people, and we had 66 comments. Not too bad for a simple question. Now, another thing that I want to cover before we jump into some of the secrets of Facebook groups and what specifically works and what doesn't work is this whole idea of the post whatever you want groups. You may have seen people that pretty much, they make a crusade out of saying, hey, my group is where you can post whatever you want. I'm not going to limit you. I'm not going to take away your free speech, all that stuff. But this is actually a false promise, because you may have heard the expression, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, did it make a sound? Well, it's the same thing with these groups where you can post anything. If you're able to post anything and they're getting hundreds of these low quality posts every single day, Facebook is suppressing a lot of that, if not all of it, from showing up in the feed, and therefore nobody's really seeing it. So does it really matter that it was even posted in the first place? Instead, as a moderator, as a group admin, you have a responsibility to try to get that content to get seen by as many people as possible. And by having these free-for-all groups where you can post whatever you want, it's just not going to work. Because at the end of the day, you don't win the group game inside the group itself. You win it in the feed. What do I mean by that? Well, people don't log into Facebook to go check your group specifically. They log into Facebook or they open up the Facebook app, and they're going to either see your group's content in the feed or not. They're going to engage what's in front of them in the feed. So your goal as a group moderator or admin or creator is to get that content from your group into the feed. And that's what we're going to talk about for the remainder of this video. So what is the feed? It used to be called the news feed. Now Facebook just calls it the feed. It's basically what you see when you open Facebook. It's the constantly updating list of stories in the middle of your homepage. Feed includes status updates, photos, videos, links, app activity, and likes from people, pages, and groups that you follow on Facebook. It is the most important part of Facebook because getting into that feed is everything. And if your group is full of random, low-quality posts, Facebook buries it from the feed. They're just not going to show it. But if you get high engagement consistently on multiple posts, Facebook will push not only that content, but they'll push your group in general as a whole. They're going to push it out everywhere. So that's what you want. So what are some secrets of strong groups that help you get into the news feed? Well, first of all, start with a memorable brand. Here you can see 3 representation of 3 different brands. First, you have the Starbucks logo, because yes, you should have a nice logo, but that's not the only thing that's tied to your brand. A brand is a lot more than just a logo. Then in the middle, you have a store. We all probably can recognize that's the Apple Store, and we know what it's like to go into an Apple Store and to be able to try things out. It has that iconic look and that iconic experience. And then you have a Lego brick, because your product can also be part of your brand. So they might bring back memories of playing with the bricks and the sound they make and what you can build with it. So your brand is more than just your logo, and you need to have a strong brand. Here's a quick example. These are 3 groups. When I searched for Port St. Lucie business, I looked at all the different groups that came up. Here's 3 examples. The top and the bottom one are very generic. They have the default photo, very generic name. You're probably not going to want to join those groups. Then you have the Port St. Lucie Business Club in the middle. It has the iconic purple branding. It has a name that's very concise and catchy, and it's just going to catch people's attention a lot more than the other 2. The next thing I want to share is that you need to set the rules to shape the culture. What do I mean by that? Well, have rules. It's as simple as that. Don't make it a free-for-all. Make sure that you are using the tools that Facebook gives you. And one of the tools they give you is the ability to create rules for your group. These are the 10 rules for the Port St. Lucie Business Club. You're welcome to copy them. We put a lot of effort into tweaking and perfecting these rules. We're constantly improving them. They could always be better, but we think we're doing a pretty good job because the engagement is very high and the spam is very low in the group. And a lot of it has to do with rules and with moderation. You can't just have rules without moderation. You can't have moderation without rules. So you have the rules, but then you have to actually enforce them. So you want to moderate with intention to keep the spam out of the group. And one thing I recommend doing is going into your group settings, And turning on post approvals for all posts, meaning that if someone wants to post something in the group, it should be approved by a moderator or an admin before it goes live. Again, this is going to help you cut out a lot of that spam. Another thing you should do is you should drive engagement with daily prompts. And what I mean by that is just post stuff in the group for people to comment on. Post engaging questions and images, and maybe even have a different theme for every day of the week, which is something we do. We have welcome posts to welcome new members. We have What's Happening Wednesday, where people can post events. We have questions like this one that got 77 comments on a simple question like this. If America runs on Dunkin', what does your business run on? You know, this is easy stuff. I schedule it out all at once a week, and a lot of times it gets a lot of engagement because it's about getting engagement. It's about asking questions. People love to engage with stuff like that. It's not just me promoting myself. And then another tip is to make every post count. What I mean by that is you want to have as much engagement as possible on each post. You don't want to have a bunch of posts with very little engagement because, again, it's all about trying to get into the feed. And so you have to do a good job of checking your group regularly. And if you see a post that doesn't have any comments, maybe go in there and just add a quick comment and tag somebody who might be able to help this person or answer this question or whatever. Just add some type of comment to try to get it back into the top of the group so more people will see it, and then it can try to get some more engagement. You don't want to have a bunch of unanswered questions in there. You want to try to build up that engagement. Now, what if you're not running a group? What if you're just on Facebook and you're a business owner or a professional and you're just trying to leverage other people's groups to grow your business? Well, here are some tips for you. First of all, be consistent. That's pretty much a no-brainer. You don't want to just go into a group, post once, and disappear. You want to be consistent. You also want to give more than you take. I like to do the 80-20 rule, where 80% of my content is just helping people, answering questions, providing value, not expecting anything in return. And then maybe 20% of the time, I'm promoting something when applicable and as long as it follows the rules of the group I'm in. You also want to go deep with a few groups. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. You don't want to be in hundreds of groups and just post once a month. Instead, you want to become a top contributor in just a few groups. That's going to go a long way. And then finally, the real secret of Facebook groups. I saved the best for last. We talked a lot about the technical stuff, the algorithm, the tactics. But really what it comes down to, if I had to summarize everything in just one slide, groups aren't about gaming an algorithm. They're about building real relationships with real people who actually care. So you want to focus on serving your community first, and then everything else is going to follow. Thank you for your time. If you want more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going to have a lot more content for small businesses and local service businesses, everything you need to learn about Facebook groups and marketing and how to grow your business the smart way. So make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.